the invitation?
Well, I don't think I.
Hello.
Well, I 9:30. Are you ready then?
Yeah, good.
Good morning, everyone. We have some technical difficulties this morning, so we're only going to be operating off of one TV, just so you know. I guess the TVs are out of sync, so. Okay, this morning we'll start with a moment of reflection. We are at item 3, confirmation of the agenda. I have a recommendation that the agenda, council agenda dated May 6, 2025 be approved as circulated. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Markell. All those in favor? Carried. If you have, we're declaring pecuniary interest. If you have any, you can name it now or as comes upon. We have no report for closed meeting. And we're at item 6 for consent agenda. Would anybody like to see anything pulled? We have 24 items there. Councillor Markell?
6.8. Can we speak about it?
Let's see. Sure, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, just to speak concerns in Perth, there's also speak concerns in Adamton, there's also speak concerns in St. Paul, there's speak concerns in a lot of our towns. I mean, I don't know what the next step would be, but I would support this 6.8.
Absolutely. Do you want to speak to that?
So I can give a brief update on this. So, staff from here and South Carolina met with the MTO. We had circulated as part of the recommendation from council, we circulated the petition and the letter received from the citizens in Kirkton to the MTO plus the MP of, Huron. And so, Lisa Thompson and Matthew Ray. So that's what generated this first meeting. So they've brought forward what they can do or will do. So we will continue working with the various groups. Matthew Ray also requested that I resend him the information, so he's also kind of working on our behalf. So, but we're also happy to, if there are concerns from other citizens, as well.
Yeah, I just hear, it's a broad issue. It's not just Kirkland,
Oh,
it's not just
we
the
know.
two I listed. It's a broader issue, but I just
Yeah.
want to.
Anything else, Cole? I would just like to make a mention of 6.2, the community policing advisory committee minutes. So there was something that I was looking for after the meeting, and it was in regard to, we asked them about the car. Because we do pay for a car. It's 4 or 5 years, I don't know off the top of my head. 3, yeah, we save for it. But I'd like to know what happens to the car that we then have used for 3 years, and if we are entitled to that money back, or does it have to go to the general fund? So Lizette's going to follow up with that. So, it wasn't in the minutes, go ahead.
I believe the chief indicated that they take the trade-in value against a new car.
They do?
Yeah, and they reduce the cost of it.
See, and I was a little confused because he said St. Mary's actually buys their car.
Yeah.
So I didn't think we'd want, but, yeah, I wasn't clear on that, so I just wanted to be clear. Anything else? Seeing none, I have the recommendation that the council agenda is item 6.1, with changes made to 6.2 and supporting 6.8. Going to 6.24, be received for information, and that the regular council minutes for April 15th, 2025 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Scorview and seconded by Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, can we just amend that to, also include adopting the minutes of April 9th? I forgot to.
So that is from.
Never mind.
Okay,
I didn't include them, so I'll bring them forward.
All right. Okay, public meeting hearings and delegations.
Sorry, I messed up your vote, so you didn't vote.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Corby, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to the public meetings, hearings and delegations. We have Greg Hanico of Emergency Management Group for the Fire Master Plan. I think he's gonna make a presentation.
Looks like you're.
Yeah.
Greg, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We just don't quite see you. We're having some technical difficulties, so we'll get there.
That was great.
Do you have your presentation available?
We have it, but
I do, yes.
We have it over here.
Do you want, is Cap, do you want one, Cap? Oh, okay. It should be. No.
7-1.
All right, I think we are ready to go. If you want to take it over, welcome.
Okay, thank you, and good morning, everyone. So I'm guessing before I introduce myself here really quickly, I'll just kind of go through. I'll just say slide by slide what I'm going through, slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, because I cannot see it on your end. So I have it on my computer here as well. So so good morning, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Perth South Fire Master Plan. It's been a little while since we completed the report, the Master Fire Plan and the community risk assessment, but happy to make the presentation today. I reviewed the document and hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions that may arise at the end. So my name's Greg Hankey. I've been with the Emergency Management Group for just over a year after my retirement of 32 and a half years in the fire service with Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. I retired as the fire chief last January. So happy to work on this unique project for Perth South, and we'll just go through a high-level overview of the report. So I'm on to slide 2. So these are the deliverables of the project. The request for proposal reference the Office of the Fire Marshal Comprehensive Fire Safety Effectiveness Model. So a lot of the work was based on that model. We tried to ensure an all-encompassing stakeholder consultation process. It was considering the fact that you have 3 different fire departments serving Perth South. It was quite involved, so a lot of consultation with the various departments, fire chiefs, and then with Perth South staff as well. So we completed an encompassing and comprehensive review of the fire services provided to Perth South through the existing agreements, and we took into consideration community growth and alternate long-term strategies for fire protection services, which you do see in the report, which one of the options is creating your own fire department. So on slide 3, so the process, and again, a lot of assistance and input provided from staff, stakeholders throughout the process. So it was really a lot of information research gathering at the beginning of the process, then analyzing the data, and then compiling the draft recommendations that you see in the report. Slide 4. So the whole process is really based on the Office of the Fire Marshal Fire Protection Model, which is really revolves around the 3 lines of defense for public safety. The first being public fire safety and education, fire code enforcement through an inspection process, and then really the 3rd line of defense being emergency response capabilities. We also consider a 4th component when we do our work here with emergency management, and that is just really corporate emergency management in general. So slide 5, this is really what the report is based on. So performance measures and standards. So we obviously rely on the Office of the Fire Marshal communiques and directives from the Fire Marshal's office, the Fire Protection and Prevention Act, relevant NFPA standards when it comes to things like response and training, technical rescue training, things like that. Research that's been conducted by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, very important right now and still ongoing, which will be coming into force in July of 2026. The first phase anyways is the Ontario Regulation 34322, which is the firefighter certification regulation. The Commission on Fire Accreditation International, we do reference the Fire Underwriter Survey, FUS, for things like fire inspection schedules and apparatus replacement schedules, as an industry best practice. Very important one, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, municipal standards and regulations, and then council approved policies, things like establishing and regulating bylaws, burning bylaws, and things like that. Ministry of Labor Section 21 guidance notes, and generally industry best practices. So slide 6. I'm just gonna enlarge my screen a little bit here because I apologize for the font. Some of the font's not that big. Is everybody still with me here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the objectives of the report were really to provide a review, of the overall operation of the department, including response times against the NFPA standards, provide a geographical plan for fire station locations. So, what we did was we assessed the existing response coverage and then provided a proposal as an option should council choose to consider establishing your own fire department. Provided a review of the needs of the fire department's administration, provided a review of fire prevention and public education plans against legislation and standards. So that again being the requirements to the FPPA and looking at things like the FUS inspection schedule. We reviewed the existing mutual aid and fire protection agreements, which was a big part of it, considering you do have 3 agreements for fire protection services, and then identified service level enhancements for the township to consider through decisions of council. So I won't read all of these out. There's 29 recommendations contained in the report that are either operational or strategic in nature. So operational recommendations, I don't want to say they're lower level recommendations, but they can primarily be addressed by staff. When we look at strategic recommendations, items that include expenditures as an example for fleet or staffing, or creating your own fire department as an example, those would all be decisions of council to make. As council's aware, you set the level of service for fire protection services in Perth South. So slide 8 is just quickly the fire areas that are existing right now from the 3 departments that serve your community. Now we'll move into some of the recommendations that are contained in the report. I don't have them all in the slides. They're all important recommendations. These are just some of them based on the different sections in the report. Oops. So under community and fire department, what we're recommending is that the establishing and regulating bylaws for the various departments, the 3 departments be looked at in general. We, and updated based on the recommendations contained within that, I believe it's section 1 of the report, as an example, to align with regulation 34322, which is the firefighter certification regulation, that they be updated to define the level of technical rescue response being provided into the municipality. And really the bylaw should clarify at the awareness, operation, or technician level. The bylaw 36 2008, which is your open burning air bylaw, be assessed against other municipalities. I think one for just so that it's being consistently applied across the municipality by all of the responding fire departments. Ensure that all the SOPs, standard operating procedures, within all the fire departments that are responding into your municipality align with the core requirements in section 1 of the report. So slide 10, and again, this is a fire master plan presentation. I don't recall, I know Rick Monkman, I believe, did the community risk assessment. The two documents really do go hand in hand. The community risk assessment really does inform the master fire plan. And really, once these documents are complete, the process is really to sit down and develop a community risk reduction plan based on the outcomes of the documents. So slide 11. So this is now into the fire department divisions, that being suppression or operations, training, fire prevention, public education. So the township should clearly define the desired level of fire prevention and public education service level requirements. I think one of the findings from our research and in the report, excuse me, is that there's some inconsistencies, if you will, across the community with respect to fire prevention and public education. So I think that's definitely something that should be looked at. Consider establishing a community safety officer position. Again, so under the legislation, under the FPPA, the municipality really has two options. One is to establish a fire department, which you've effectively done by having these 3 agreements with other municipalities to provide fire protection to your community. We're suggesting establishing a community safety officer position or investigating that, really as a means to, I think, strengthen and better coordinate your fire prevention and public education activities to make them consistent across the municipality. So that is also an option within the legislation. The township should consider adopting fire underwriter survey recommended fire safety inspections, or a variation of fire underwriter survey recommendation. We recognize that it's fairly aggressive, but I think what council could consider is really establishing, based on occupancy type, the frequency of inspection, and it can use the fire underwriter survey as kind of a guiding document to do that. Should council choose to establish its own fire department, that they appoint a certified National Fire Protection Association training officer that is certified to NFPA 1041 level 2. If you continue with the status quo fire protection model, that through a fire protection agreement, you secure the involvement of the St. Mary's Fire Department to respond to all water-related rescue incidents within the community. And that the township seek inclusion in a hazardous materials response agreement with either GFL or another comparable service provider. Slide 12. So this speaks to some of the facilities that a direct connect exhaust extraction system be installed at the Granton Fire Station. And this is really this is a health and safety related issue. I won't get into great detail, but I'm sure everybody's aware the cancer rates in firefighters are, I believe it's approximately 9% higher than the general population. So this is a health and safety matter that should be addressed. That the cost for comprehensive facility assessment of the Granton Station be investigated, and that FUS and NFPA recommendations for fire apparatus replacement be used for capital forecasting. Now, I'll preface that one again by when we do these reports, we look at apparatus replacement schedules. We use FUS and NFPA as a benchmark. We fully recognize that, again, that as long as apparatus are maintained in a good operational condition, that they meet the safety requirements, safety check requirements, that the pumps meet a Class A pump test, things like that. That these apparatus, the life of these apparatus can be prolonged. Again, we recommend referencing FUS and NFPA as the replacement criteria for apparatus. And now we throw into the whole mix the things that are happening in the United States and tariffs and the impact that tariffs are going to have on the automotive industry, on fire apparatus, on equipment. So we fully recognize that as well. This report was completed prior to all of that, really, and it's still evolving. It's still dynamic. Things are changing daily, as I'm sure you're all aware. So, I mean, those are obviously other considerations to take into account when replacing apparatus. Slide 13. I think we believe a comprehensive review of all the agreements that are presently in place for alignment and consistency with the township's needs and circumstances and council approved service levels is required. So they're all consistent. So the township is receiving, consistent fire protection services across the township. So a review of those documents is also recommended. On to finance. So slide 14, that the township complete a review of the current fee structure. That again, that the agreements, should council choose to continue with the existing service model, or that they be reviewed and negotiated for consistency across the township as far as fire prevention and public education go. And on the budget side, that through work with the fire chief, that the line items or the budget amounts for the replacement of engine 62 and engine 52 be revisited and adjusted as appropriate. So slide 15. So these would really be strategic recommendations that if Perth South is to consider the future implementation of its own fire service, that this plan include a long-range forecast for 2 fire stations. And based on the direction from Perth South Council, that if council does choose to go down this road, that you engage the Office of the Fire Marshal for consultation and assistance in the creation of a fire department. Oops. So conclusion, slide 16. Through our research, it was very evident from the fire chiefs on down through to the staff that your township is supported by dedicated teams of firefighters who are focused on responding to the emergencies within your township. providing fire protection, fire prevention, and public education needs as well to the township. Notwithstanding, we did find some inconsistencies within the level of service being provided. So again, this presentation provides a high-level overview of the process and methodology used to develop this report. It's recommended that the report's recommendations be prioritized by implementation timeline, and with necessary reports being brought forward to council for review, their consideration and approval. So slide 17. I'd really like to thank Sue. I'll address you by by first name, Sue, Bob, and Fred for your the work during this process. It was definitely an interesting project to work on. But thank you for all of your support, and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody may have. I'll do my best to answer them.
Okay, the floor is open. Deputy Mayor Wilhelm?
Yes. Morning, Greg, Bob Wilhelm here. I think this is very timely. We've been over your report a number of weeks ago. And last Friday, we just had an education session on fire essentials from the fire marshal. And I guess my only question is, can you tell us, did you compare the per call costs of Perth South with any other municipality of our size? Because our calls are average over $11,000 per call, which to me is very high. Have you had any comparison?
Through the chair, yes, we did a comparison. If I recollect, I'm just going to move on to the finance section here. I've got the report open, so please, Chair, bear with me for 1 second. So we did a cost comparison using the BMA BMA data, which if I recall correctly, the municipalities, I apologize, I can't remember. Anyways, we've got all the data. So we did a cost comparison, net cost per capita, excluding amortization and including amortization for fire protection services for Perth South, compared to other similar municipality size. And so really the findings are that overall Perth South is on the higher end of cost per capita cost based on the BMA information. We also did a cost per capita or a cost per emergency incident by department, and through the chair, the cost per incident in 2022 was approximately just over $7,000 per incident. So, Chair, does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yeah, I believe it does. Any other questions for Greg while we have him on there? Councillor Mark Bell?
Thank you for the presentation. I'm wondering, what could you speak with more detail with the inconsistencies that you found?
With respect to specifically fire prevention and public education, Chair, or?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it on slide 6. There's inconsistencies that you found in the education that we're providing.
Yeah, and I think what we found, and it has to be, and definitely recognizing, Chair, that you have 3 different fire departments that have serving your township that have 3 different capabilities, if you will. So they're all servicing 3 different distinct fire protection areas. So what we found was really varying levels of things, from things as simple as door-to-door smoke alarm campaigns, as an example, where we're making sure, where the township is making sure that people have working smoke alarms in their homes, to varying levels of fire prevention and public education events, at recognizing as well that not every area has a school in it. You have different demographics within the different areas. But what we found, compared to, say, a municipality that is served by one fire department, that under one umbrella, they're generally more consistent with fire prevention, inspection, public fire safety education activities. So in general, we found a lot of variances, if you will, between public fire safety education, fire prevention activity, whereby some departments will only, they'll conduct fire inspections based on complaint or request, which is the mandatory requirement under the legislation, whereby others may provide more proactive, fire inspection activities. So I think it really, I think it's really about taking a look, or establishing as a council, what do you want for fire prevention, fire code enforcement, public fire life safety education, broadly across your entire township, and then through the agreements, making sure that those services are being provided consistently across the township. Hopefully not a long-winded, convoluted answer to your question, but
Councillor Gordon?
What I find, the situation we're in right now is that we don't have much control over our destiny. We only own part of one fire hall, and in that fire hall, there's only 40 calls a year, and 7 in the Perth South. So I guess the trouble is that the fire halls are so much different, whether we can get an agreement with all three that this is the same. I don't know if that's gonna be a huge issue or not, because we don't have much control other than in one fire hall.
Uh,
Go ahead, Greg.
yeah, I'm through the chair. I'm taking that, I guess, from the councillor more as more of a comment than a question. So, but you are correct, yes, and we recognize that. So, really, again, I'm probably repeating myself, but I think it's really about, as a council, again, deciding what is the level of service you want for the township. Keeping in mind there are minimum requirements under the legislation, and then working with these fire departments, if you choose to continue on with the current model, to determine if they have the capability and at what cost to provide the level of service that you want to see consistently applied across the township.
I would agree, Greg. I think sometimes we're going to be reactionary on what others are doing. So long-term forecast, we have to be aware that we might be required to build, but we have to wait for a few others to make some big decisions.
Good.
Any other questions for Greg while he is on the phone? Okay, seeing none, Greg, I want to thank you for the presentation today and for working with us for the last 6 to 8 months. Yes, we are very unique in our fire services. We definitely have a few holes that we're going to fill, and I'd like to really thank you for all that you've done for us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No, it's through the chair. It has been a pleasure. Yeah, a unique experience and a pleasure. So I appreciate your time today, and all the best and good luck.
Thank you. I have a recommendation here that the presentation for the Perth South Fire Master Plan be received for information. Moved by Councillor Mark Bell, seconded by Councillor Vanessa. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you again, Greg.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
You too. Okay, we are at item 8, reports. Chief Building Official, Mark Keeney, you are half the floor, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Order, members of the council. April was a busy month. There's 15 new permits issued. It created just over 5 million in construction value and almost 21,000 collected in permit fees. We've had a really exceptional start to the year. There's been 40 permits issued to date with a construction value of $30 million. Compared to this time last year, we had 30 permits issued with 8.5 million in construction value. The outlook looks very positive for the rest of the year. We have a lot of permits waiting issuance. I believe there's 13 in the queue right now, and there's quite a few more coming that I know of. The inspections have been busy as well. We did 32 in April, and that number keeps growing with the amount of permits being issued. The new software is working really well. That's helping with with all the new activity. We can when we do inspections on site, emails are sent with pictures and the inspection report right from the site. And it's working very well. I've had a lot of positive feedback. Bylaw enforcement, there was 1 new complaint for the month of April, and there was 2 new property standards issues that we're working through. That's my report in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Exceptional job.
Thank you.
This construction value, is it mainly barns or industry or?
It's all across the board. We have, there's 7 new single detached dwellings that are issued, 2 new additional dwelling units that are issued. There's 1 very large industrial property that we're working on. The agricultural sector is still going strong. So yeah, we're in an enviable position.
Nice, nice. Good news.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing no questions for Martin, I have a recommendation that the video update report be received for information. Moved by Councillor Jeff Bell, second by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Director of Public Works, Ken, we have some reports.
Thank you, Mayor Orr. Yeah, I got a few reports here. The first one is follow-up from last council meeting. Related to, I guess, the replacement of tractor 28. And so I got a report here, kind of in line with what the direction was from council, which I agree with. If we were to get a backhoe, it'd be very useful for the public works staff. We could then keep tractor 28 on longer on a little bit reduced usage for roadside mowing and some still lower usage would still be useful for us for sure. Got some information from Central Huron, and they had recently just got a backhoe, so I got some pretty good pricing, accurate, what I would say pretty accurate pricing numbers for what they had gone through. They utilized the Sourcewell, which is a group pricing program that we're part of for, small things, large things, through AMO, it's through AMO and their LAS program. So this large buying group, so they were able to include in their request for pricing was for a slightly used backhoe, which I think provided some pretty good value to them, savings. They were able to get a backhoe with 150 hours for less than a new one. Still included through Sourcewell, was able to still include warranty and some government pricing discounts. So that's been my report. Anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Councillor Cordy?
Ken, if we did happen to get a backhoe, how much more money could it save us than the $8,800 a year that we use that we paid somebody else for the use of the backhoe, cause like, would we do a lot more culvert work and stuff that would save the township money?
Yeah, there'd be efficiencies as well, I think, for some of the work we do, and then ideally, there's some stuff that probably isn't even getting done that would be better, like small ditching stuff that we could keep up on. Just cleaning out the ends of culverts, that is a big one that, we could utilize that machine for, cleaning up after heavy rainfall events, we got some gravel that washes off the road into the ditch. Right now, it's not as easy for us to, try and reclaim that back and get the ditch work. So that would be a big part of that would be ditch work. But also, yeah, for, trees and stuff as well. Small scrub type brush, on the roadsides. I think there'd be a lot of just varying uses on everything we do, pretty much,
So the other road tractor that we have that we're talking about getting rid of, how much use does it get out of that roadside cutting?
Roadside cutting and loader usage, like in the winter, we use it for pushing snow around here in the yard, scraping off bridge decks. There's a snow blower that goes on it that we used to use more. Lately, we've been using the pickup plow for the parking lots around here. But yeah, the backhoes are pretty versatile machines, and we'd be able to use that for a lot of different, a lot of our tasks for sure. And even emergency usage, it's good to have, we'll get a call about a tree on the road at 2 a.m. And if it's over this way, it's nice having a loader closer than having to bring one an emergency all the way across the township to get stuff off the road or a spill or anything. It just helps get that work done and the road cleared off a lot quicker as well.
Any other questions? I have one, if we purchase this, would we have a place to store it?
Yeah, we could, our shops are tight as they are now.
I thought that.
So, but yeah, stuff gets put in between, in the winter when the snow plows and stuff are on, they take up a lot more space too, but yeah, there's not a specific door or bay, but there's room in between.
So I believe the recommendation I have in front of me is just to instruct Ken to get solid pricing on it and bring it back to council. I think it would be included if we had a larger budget discussion. Am I right? We're just wanting Ken to look at what he could get out of that. Are we comfortable with that? Okay, I have a recommendation that the Perth Council includes a new tractor backhoe in the 2025 budget and direct staff to utilize AMO canoe sourcewell program to obtain pricing for a new backhoe or used backhoe with less than 1,000 hours. Moved by Councilor Burnett.
Oh, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, it's just, you clarified to say this is just for pricing, but the recommendation reads that we're approving it for the 2025 budget.
And direct staff to utilize the program to obtain pricing.
Okay, so it is the pricing, but we're also approving it for the budget.
I think what the resolution is saying is, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Or, it's in that, on your notes,
Mhm, I see
schedule
it's
7,
on
it's in the
our
1.3, so it's now, we've changed it from the tractor that was in the original capital report you got to the 200. So, I think the resolution is to accept the new, amount in the, summary of the capital and then get actual pricing. I believe that's what the resolution is trying to say. It's in that 1.3 that's on that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so I believe we're wanting to have a solid, what will that cost? All right, so I'm gonna read it again. The Perth Council approved the new tractor backhoe in the 2025 budget and direct staff to utilize the AMO canoe sourcewell program to obtain pricing for a new backhoe or used backhoe with less than 1,000 hours. Moved by Councilor Vanessa, second by Councilor Jeff Bell. All those in favor? Carried. All right, we're at a report for line 29.
Yes, thank you. Next report here is we included in with the Perth County's tender, so Perth County's, large tender, they're doing some, recycling and paving on Perth Road 130. Northeast also included some work on their Road 130 and our line 29, which is similar type work, coal recycle and paving. So it's a pretty large tender, and we were able to get, pretty good pricing, based on all the projects being combined. So the results there are for the total, tender, including, all three of the different projects. The per south component, then is the numbers below that. There's some additional stuff that would be added to those numbers, but that's the numbers from the section that included our work, just over 700,000. We do have some extra costs that we would, on work we'll be doing ourselves or in conjunction with the county, some shouldering, culvert replacement. Engineering, testing, some mobilization costs, but that's the bulk of the stuff, in there. So the low bidder was GIP paving. So the recommendation is just for us to confirm acceptance, for Perth County to award the contract in all parts to, GIP paving.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it hasn't been the county yet, no? No, I don't think it has.
No, I don't believe it's, I knew, but I think it's coming soon. So.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Councilor Kirby.
Are we gonna be assured that we're gonna be looked after better than we were on line 4? Because line 4 wasn't good and it's the same people and I'm not happy about this. But who's gonna keep an eye on them, because we didn't do a very good job on line 4, so we have to be assured that this will go better than line 4. That's.
Yeah, and follow up on council review. So I had some discussions with Perth County on that. And we're planning on having some full-time inspection on this contract. I'm not 100% sure, but the county has some staff that have some paving background and knowledge. So the plan is to have somebody full-time on their part and on when they're doing the work for us as well. And that was part of the problem last time. I was busy working on a pool heater and a bunch of other things and wasn't able to be on site, you know, like the worst or the best time when they were doing some of the work. So having some commitment to have somebody on site will help.
As long as they have,
it's not.
as long as they have some knowledge of what's supposed to happen too, Ken, like you said, as long as they have the experience, then.
Yeah, we talked about, you know, maybe getting an engineer or somebody, but we felt that potentially their staff that had been in the industry probably have as good a knowledge as an inspector you might get from a consultant. So, okay.
Deputy Mayor, did you have a question?
No, I was talking about Township Corby, concerned with, this, project and, that we do, ensure that GIP paving does a good job this time.
Councilor Martin?
Just quickly to touch on this in the budgets, so this number and the budget number is about 200,000 difference. Is this, will the budget get updated or is that our extra cost for making such?
So there's some based on these tender results, there should be some savings, realized, because we got some pretty good pricing from a low bidder there, so, yeah, some savings on the budget for sure.
Okay, seeing, and do you have any questions? No? Okay, so I have a recommendation that the Township of Perth South Council confirm acceptance of the tender award by Perth County for Part 3, Line 29, Perth Road 130 to Stratford City Limits in Perth South of the tender 25-031-001, Perth Road 130, Line 29 and Road 130, Road Rehabilitation Coal Recycle, CIR and CRRAM, hot mix asphalt paving and drainage works to GIP paving, having a tender cost to Perth South in the amount of $708,516 plus HST. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Markfeld, all those in favor? Carried. And we have another report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Our last report here is another follow-up from the last council meeting. Included in the capital budget is the Rathburn Drain culvert replacement. So I followed up with the all the affected landowners on that, and then I got a map there in the package that kind of shows. So there's 2 farm parcels, one on each side of the road 142 past the culvert. They utilize that road allowance to access the majority of their field. They don't have another crossing to get to the back part of their property. And then additionally, Upper Thames, they utilize that to access a portion of lands they own that they can't access over Fish Creek, which is just in behind. So they all, I talked to representatives from all 3, and they all, had indicated they utilize that road and would like it to continue to be available for them to access their lands. But if anyone has any questions.
$25,000 the budget.
Yeah, that's the amount that's in the budget for the culvert replacement.
All right, questions on the floor? Councillor Jeffrey?
So the gate that's there, I took a walk on the weekend. Upper Thames put that in, and it's to keep people out, but it looks like it's only just held together with a drawable. There's no actual lock on it, is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know. Okay. Yeah. It was put in just because there was issues and problems back there, not related to the local land.
And then there's a smaller, like a 16-inch culvert, a little bit closer towards the road. One side's a box stand or groundhog hole, the other side's just dark. Is that being replaced, or what's the function of that?
So there'll be a roadside culvert, for the water along the roadside ditch. Definitely when we're there, we could get the ends of it cleaned out. That'd be a more minor thing, but, yeah, make sure it's working as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, Ken, these 2 farm center and Martin, they cannot access the property without going over that.
But they can't access what I call the north sides of their properties, yeah, because that Rathburn Drain that you can see in the photo, they don't have any crossings over it. Other than utilizing the crossing on the road.
Councillor Martin?
Without this road or road allowance, would the Upper Thames properties be landlocked? Is there another access to those Upper Thames properties?
No, there wouldn't be.
Okay.
Not the back portion of that, because they're separated by Fish Creek. They're not farm parcels, but there's some woodlots there. I think there's right now there's somebody at bee who keeps some bees there, beekeeping, and at one time apparently there was some trails back in there, but it's not a public accessible space anymore.
So my question on that, I guess, is as we're looking at our road allowances and are these roads that we will ever open, is this something that is really just functioning for 2 private landowners? Is it something that we should sometime take a look at? Releasing these road allowances that are not serving the public? Is it, like, would that be?
Yeah, I don't
appropriate? Is this something
expect-
we need to keep.
I don't expect we would ever replace the bridge over Fish Creek, because that'd be very expensive thing. So yeah, this is serving 3 property owners, I would say.
Councillor Corby?
Could we donate the land to Upper Thames and take the liability off us? It's their gate, They put up really nice gates compared to what we have done, especially.
I would like to.
There is an issue with the culvert that's there, that's part of the municipal drain, that is our responsibility. So, we can't abandon the drain. So if we are going to be obligated to continue to deal with that drain, we will need to access that drain, so we will at least need to have the road continue to the culvert itself, so that we can maintain it. Whether the road continues beyond that is another question. But if you're thinking that we could just walk away from the road and not be responsible for the drain, that's not something that I would recommend because of the obligation we have to that drain.
Just to clarify, because I'm no expert on drainage, so if the drain moves between two private properties, would we still have, culvert responsibilities?
Well, the drain goes under a municipal road.
If the road is no longer municipal, let's say Jeff and I share a property, there's no road between, there's a culvert between them, that's not municipal, correct? Right, that would.
I don't know what the facts scenario you just laid out here, other than we have a municipal drain under our road allowance in this situation
Yes,
that we would need to manage.
but if we give up the ownership of that, it would no longer be our need to manage, because it would then be like there are hundreds of in this township. Culverts that go between two properties.
Yes, but this one goes under what is now a municipal asset.
Yes, I get,
And so if we walk away from it, I can't give you an answer off the top of my head, whether we can also walk away from our obligation to that. We would need to somehow assign that responsibility to someone who would willingly accept it. But our obligation to the drain would need to be managed if we decided that the township no longer wanted to be associated with this road.
I'm assuming this is a no winter maintenance road.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Will.
I have a bit of an issue, spending 25,000 for 3 property owners. That probably, cross that culvert a dozen times a year. But on the other hand, we do own it. We are responsible to maintain it. I don't know if there's any way we can get out of it in the future. But in the meantime, I believe we should sign that property. Probably it's illegal for Upper Thames to put a gate across on our property without our approvals. And however, I do believe we should sign it, that it's not a maintained road. And if public use it, which it is a township road allowance, they use it at their own risk. And I think we need to reduce our liability somehow with signage.
Yes, I agree, and through the mayor, I believe the gate was put there because there was some activity at the end of the road, and it was really just put there as an attempt to discourage sort of free access up and down the road. You know, it's obviously our road, we can remove it if we like. I expect that the CA was having some issues with activities at the end of the road they were trying to discourage. I don't think they were trying to cut us off from accessing our own road.
Councilor Martin, are we putting gravel or any other costs into this? No, it's just a lane.
Yeah, through the mayor, you know, there's no winter maintenance or low maintenance roads. We would not routinely apply gravel to those roads. If there was a problem of some kind, we might try to remedy it, but we'd not routinely apply gravel.
Councilor Courtney.
Are you doing the work yourself, Ken?
The plan is there's a contractor gonna be there working on the Banner drain. And so the plan is to have a big excavator there, just, you know, rent the excavator for a day and our staff work with them and get that put in. I think it'd be pretty good value. He's already there. It's a contractor was Hannah and they're perfect for that kind of work, so.
Do we have to put as big a culvert in? That's a pretty big one.
So Brandon, the engineer who was working on the Banner drain, he sized the culvert. So we're putting in the proper size for that drain.
Any other questions? I'm gonna ask for the recommendations, the approved plans. Personnel Council includes the Rathburn Drain culvert replacement in the 2025 budget. Moved by. Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by. Councilor Jeff Bell. Any other further comments, questions? It's 25,000 right now, and that would be cost savings because of the equipment being here. Benefiting a few, farmers and Upper Thames, but it is our responsibility. Go ahead.
If this passes, can we add that appropriate signage, use at own risk? Added to that,
Yes.
for sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna just change it then, that the Personnel Council includes the Rathburn Drain culvert replacement in the 2025 budget, including the new signage. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by Councilor Jeff Bell. All those in favor? 1, 2. It is, 3, 4. Okay, so it is passed. Okay, thank you. Deputy CAO Treasurer Tracy, you have the floors. I'm gonna put the accounts on the floors first. Oh, okay. So that the accounts payable listed April 30th, 2025 for the period April 10th to April 30th, 2025 in the amount of 231,610.85 be approved. So moved on the floor, moved by Councillor Mark Bell, seconded by Councillor Corview. Any discussions regarding the accounts payable for this 20 days? Councillor Mark Bell?
Is Martin getting wet certified? I feel like I saw that earlier, I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
He is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he can go out and certify people with wood stoves and stuff like that?
That's, yeah.
Okay.
Through the mayor, I think that his inspections would be related to building permits that would involve projects that include stoves. We're not going to sell his services, but still. If that's what you're asking.
No, he's just taking the course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we're not going to advertise him as a wet certified
Okay.
inspector.
That's kind of where I was headed.
No.
I think
Because
it's the membership, right?
the membership. Okay.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at a revenue stream, but that never, that never crosses over into what we're dealing with. And then another question on, are these all new signs? So we spent about $6,000 on signs. That's Canadian National? I mean, that's for you, yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that one. Not necessarily that's for signs, that's a requirement that they railways have to inspect the crossings. And through the legislation, we're required to pay 50% of the costs, and they're required to pay 50% of the costs for inspection of the railway crossings at roads. So these are annual or basically monthly costs. I think CN invoices us quarterly for all the railway crossings on township roads. And it's kind of a set amount for them to do their inspections, and that covers the crossings for the year.
Okay, so this is a semi-annual payment? Sorry.
From CN, they invoice us quarterly.
Okay,
Goderich Exeter Railway, I think they invoice us at different times, but it's based on monthly inspections and monthly crossings.
thank you.
Councillor Vaness?
Talking about railroads, Ken, have you had a chance to talk to Goderich Exeter Railroad to fix their crossing at 130 again? They did some work last year, and with all the weight, it just keeps continually falling apart. Can they fix that this year again?
So that's on Perth Road 130, the one out by Seaverville there, so the county has had discussions with them, because there's work included in that tender. for work at the railway crossing. So the county is.
Will they totally change it? I put the new style crossing in there?
I'm not 100% sure, that'd be a question for the county, but I believe there was substantial work happening there, so it might be, somewhat.
There used to be a horrible crossing on, the Emerald Road just before you got to Highway 2 in Oxford County. Made this one look actually pretty good. And they put a new style crossing and it actually seems pretty good right now. So it's stood up 3 years already, so I'm wondering if we can have something like that putting on Road 30. Cause I know last year I was planting corn on the farm beside, there was 2 accidents while I was planting corn. The local people slow down, people who aren't from the area don't even see it, they're running into the back of it. So that has to be fixed, so if you could bring that up with the county, it'd be appreciated.
And you know what, the crossing, because there's different styles of crossing, the one you were referencing, do you know what it was replaced or upgraded to? I know CN has done some recently, they upgraded on Gibb Road or line 29 for us, with wooden, stuff in the crossing, like the wooden crossing, I'll call it. And they did the same over by Shakespeare, but, there's lots of different improvements they do, I don't know which ones they plan on using. But I'll pass that on to the county.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions on the accounts? Councilor Martin?
Just a quick question. I see that there's fitness class equipment. Is that class live? And where would people find out about it?
Through the mayor, we've been promoting it on our Facebook page, so the first series of classes in response to some requests that we got from a group of people. And so those the first one was yesterday, and we're gonna start promoting it a little bit. Let's call it soft opening.
Okay.
And so, yesterday, the first class happened, seemed to go well. So we're gonna continue to promote and make sure that we can respond to the demand. But I expect soon you'll see greater promotion coming up. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so Councilor Vaness?
Just one question under here, winter control for roads. We spent $52,000 on more sand and salt. Was that on top of what we normally buy, or was that just part of the procurement cycle? Because we had a bad winter.
Yeah, I can add to that one through the chair there. So that we get invoicing from Perth County because we don't have any sand salt storage here in St. Paul, so the trucks load directly from county facilities. And our storage over at Rannoch isn't necessarily enough for the whole seasons anyway, so we replenish or load up trucks from there out of the county facilities as well. So that's the invoice for January, February, March, whatever, April usage that we got from county facilities. So that's a normal process, but probably higher quantities than what we would normally have, yes. So
Would you have any idea how much more sand and salt we could use this past winter?
just off the top of my head through budgeting process, our budget for that material is usually around $60,000. And that invoice is for 50 something, so and that's only for 3 months of usage. We gotta replenish the shed in the fall. We'll replenish the shed in Rannoch, and we'll have November and December usage. So I would say we're probably a good 30% over normal usage.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, it's on the floor, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, we are at the report for the annual building budget. Tracy, do you want to do that report or?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just the annual report that council receives and just reporting on basically everything you've seen all year from Martin, all his statistics, and just also to get council's resolution to transfer the surplus to the tax rate stabilization reserve fund. If there's any questions?
Any questions for Tracy regarding this report? Councilor Martin?
Did you say transfer that to the tax rate stabilization?
That's not what you want.
Oh, no, sorry, I said tax rate is building.
Okay. Sorry.
I got tax rate over here.
Yeah. I was all excited. I was like, I don't know how you figured out how to do that.
Building department stays in building.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's not maybe Tracy.
Right there in the resolution.
I know, I was excited.
Questions regarding those reports? If not, I have a recommendation that the report regarding the building department annual report 2024 be received, and further that the deputy CAO treasurer be authorized to transfer the 2024 surplus to the building permit fee stabilization reserve general ledger and bank account. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Vanessa. All those in favor? Carried. And we are at your draft budget.
Mayor, or, first I want to apologize to council and anybody in the public. The hard copy that you received, was me trying to get you some information before we came. It was exported from the budgeting software, and I went through the line by line with staff trying to learn the accounts already. Didn't realize that the 26 to 29 does not add up, because it's gone into a different account. So if you look at 26 to 29, some of those numbers don't add up, but we were, Ken and I, basically, because he has the biggest budget, we were going line by line, worrying about 2025 to get you, some information so you could look at it line by line. We've been going back and forth. We have it down to 12.59%. Which is, for the municipal impact, it's $276 roughly. With the county increase, it would be $440 increase on a house assessed at $450,000. You have in front of you a reserve fund spreadsheet showing the reserve transfers that are going in from this operating budget. And any that are coming out from the operating capital budget. So I guess, I think what we should do today, if nothing else, is finalize the capital budget, because we've had it in front of us for quite a while, and that number really impacts the tax rate, if it's going to be anything tax funded. So it would be nice if we could at least get the capital one, firmed up, and then we know what number is going in that tax rate levy calculation.
Okay, Councillor Martha?
Do we, when does that decision need to be made by, like it needs to be made today? Can we make that in mid-June? So then we send it up for, the second and third installment, or third and fourth installments?
Yeah, it has to be, we have to finalize the levy before we send out final bills. But what I'd like to do today is firm up the levy contribution from capital, because we've had the capital budget in front of us for a while. Right now on your schedule, it's 1.3. I don't know that there's anything in the levy that anybody wants changed on that capital spreadsheet.
Councillor Vanessa?
The third budget item through, and we still haven't had the opportunity as council to actually go through a budget. I would like to make a motion that we have a meeting with council some morning in the next 2-3 weeks, and we can actually spend the entire morning going through a line by line item on the capital budget and the operating budget. Right now, we're looking at a 12% increase from Perth South, another 11% increase from the county, and we're looking at giving our ratepayers a 23% increase on the taxes. I think that's unacceptable. And to have a discussion for 10 minutes here at council is not proper. I think we should be spending the entire morning going through the budget. And have a separate meeting for that, and I would like to make that a motion.
All right. So before we have any other discussion, motion on the floor that we have a separate meeting to overview all of the budget stuff. I know that doesn't help you right now. Looking probably at June, I can imagine. And-
Why June?
Okay,
We can do it earlier if we can.
because I'd like to be here. Okay, so, looking for the first meeting in June, and that would be, half-day meeting for sure. I think, Tracy, I really appreciate that you are here, having a handle on everything. We just have some things that have, there are so many things beyond our control. Police, fire, this is not a matter that we have to pay, that if you make us look bad, that they are not necessarily us. We have very little that we control in certain ways. So, but I think our council would appreciate to have you walk us through how you do your budgets. You have incredible amount of years of experience with municipal budgets. So maybe we could have a meeting on the side to do that. So, motion made by Councillor Vanessa to have a first meeting in June as a budget recap, seconded by Councillor Mark Bell. Discussion?
I agree with the, resolution, and I guess why I'd like to, at the same time, look at our reserves. Because I'm looking at, I believe our levies tax stabilization is $250,000 reserve in it. Well, if you're not gonna use it when you've got 23% increase, when are you gonna use it? And like, why do we have the 250,000 sitting there? When, like I say, when are you gonna use it when it goes? I can't see us getting much higher than that.
Yeah, just, like, we kind of started behind this year because in 2024 you used 9% of the tax. You brought the tax rate down 9% by using that transfer from the reserve. So right off the hop, we're 9% behind, right? We had a 5% increase in gravel this year, so there's 14. We had the increase in a new staff member for recreation. So I think actually, going through line by line and me analyzing every account and, the software, budget software, yeah, 3%, it keeps adding up. With somebody fresh eyes, I'm going through and going, why are we adding 3% to that? Or there's not enough, right? So I think between Ken and I and Lizette and Martin with his side, we've done well to get it down to 12.59%. We've left in the 25 wellness that was kind of out that in because we weren't sure what it was. But the way I like to budget is I think we need to get to a point and then I think there needs to be annual transfers for things that are going to go to fluctuate. I'm not a fan of one-time things in my budget, like a one-time, because that just makes your tax rate do this. It should be constant and the one-times are coming from things, you pay for. Like, it's like that old saying, pay yourself first. So we need to be setting aside money for ourselves for these one-time things and not be doing this with the tax rate. Municipal drains on the road portion is one example, like poor Ken has to go every year and figure out what drains are going in and then sometimes it's 100 grand, sometimes it's 50. Why are we not just doing the consistent amount? And if it's over, we take from the reserve. If it's under, we put that in the reserve so that, taxpayers aren't, paying 100,000 1 year for a drain, those kind of things. So sitting with council and having these discussions would be good for me because I budget obviously totally different than what's been done here. So I guess that's my spiel. So Councilor Bartlett.
Yeah, I think a couple hours we can go through it pretty quick. And would it be part of the June meeting or is this gonna be separate altogether?
If you're asking me, I would propose that it be part of the June meeting, just because it's already scheduled and it's okay. If not, I would recommend that you set on a date today if you want a different date then the June meeting. As we approach June, July, August, holiday time, vacations, staff absence, you know, that sort of stuff starts to become a risk. So, you know, everybody is typically scheduled to be here for council meetings. So I would recommend that we carve out a chunk of the council meeting and dedicate it to the budget.
As long as the June meeting's not too long, cause there's a lack of oxygen in it here, we get all stupid. One question I have is, and I have to agree with Jim. But if the tax rate was as you projected, what would next year look like? Cause we wouldn't be starting off with
That's right.
3 or 6 or
So
whatever.
next
So-
year, we should be at the normal 2 or 3 because we're not catching up for, you know, I don't wanna say hiding the tax increase, but, you know, softening the tax levy increase last year, has now hurt us because now we have to catch up. And eventually, you know, if we use that tax rate stabilization this year, then it's gone, so then what do you do next year if something, you know?
But it could be phased, we could do a phase over 2 years instead of like a bump all in 1 year. Like,
That, and that's totally council's
Yeah.
decision, like what I'm giving you right now is the true cost of doing business. We've gone through it, we've gone through it a few times, I've taken stuff out and then somebody tells me it really needs to be in there, so I'm gonna put it back because I was kind of analyzing the last few years. But going through it line by line with council, it's quite fine with me, and not me running the budget process, it helps me. You know, the GL and things, but, I think we were trying to, because we were May, we were trying to get a tax levy set, so. But I mean, that's, council has to be comfortable with what they're looking at as well.
If I might add as well, so I think what you're looking at is a very tight budget. And I wanna manage expectations, because if you think that you're gonna go line by line through the budget and find 1, 2, 3, 5%, I'm telling you that's not going to happen. The reason that your tax rate is where it is because, as Tracy referenced, there was reserves used last year to subsidize the tax rate. So as Bob pointed out, and as Tracy pointed out, if you decide you wanna take 6% out of a reserve, you're going to start at 6% next year. That's just how it works, and that's why this number is what it is today, because of the way that we took 900,000 last year, or.
9%.
Not
Yeah,
9%.
yeah.
Yeah, so automatically this year you're starting at 9%.
Council Martin?
I'll let Fred finish.
So in the absence, so this is, it's just transparent about how the financials flow from reserves into operations. And, you know, that's why you're never gonna see anybody on this team recommend that you subsidize the tax increase using reserve funds. That's not something that we recommend, that's not something that we recommended last year, that was a decision that council made. And at the end of the day, it is the council's decision, don't get me wrong, that is the decision that council makes. But it's not a recommendation you will get from us, because we don't believe that it's prudent financial management.
Council Kirby?
I guess, one thing, in the budget that I didn't think we created a gravel reserve, but it was something that should have been used in the following year or over a couple of years, cause it was never my intention to have a gravel reserve. We just saved money 1 year, we threw it in a reserve, but that's just my thoughts on that.
Water under the bridge?
Yeah,
Council Martin?
So I'm wondering about the value of having this stabilization fund. If it's not a good idea, maybe we look at dissolving that, because what is the point of holding ratepayers' money in a reserve that is causing problems?
Through the mayor, we believe that we need to evaluate our reserve funds and the purpose that they've been created for. For sure, you know, you have a tax rate stabilization fund for exactly that reason, but I'm not gonna tell you that you should consider taking 9% out of it. You know, like, if you wanna take 1 or 2%, to soften the blow, that's probably reasonable. But the larger you withdraw from that reserve, the more you put a hole ahead of you. So that's what it's there for. Sure, there's gonna be years where we don't anticipate, you know, maybe gravel doubles in price, maybe asphalt doubles in price, maybe fuel doubles in price. Those are the things that we can't predict, and those are the things, those are real anomalies, right? That you want to have a little bit of money socked away for. But there's not really any significant anomaly in the 2024 or 2025 budget that I would point to say, yeah, you know, that's the year where, you know, you had this blip because of some factor that was out of your control. That, like, nothing in this budget is out of the ordinary, I guess is my point. And so, you know, for sure, you know, going through the budget line by line, it's always a good exercise. It's always a good opportunity for us as staff to hear what the priorities are of the council and keep those in mind as we're developing the budget. But I don't want you to think you're gonna find, you're not gonna find it. Unless you decide you wanna reduce levels of service, then that's a completely different discussion. But that's not the message that we've been given, at least at this point.
Deputy Mayor Whittle.
Yes, line 29, Ken indicated that, we had saved, or will be saving approximately 400,000, gonna end up probably a $200,000 saving. Is that included in the new
No.
discount? So,
That's.
so that would drop our percentage increase
Yes, it works.
by 200,000 right off the bat.
Yes.
And so that's what, 3-4%?
Just shy of 3.
Just shy of 4, actually.
So right there, you would be down,
Under 10.
under 10. So I think those are things we need to address.
Yeah, and the other issue, sorry, Mayor, you know, we have had some assessment growth. We will have more assessment growth that will contribute to the bottom line. These are taking, you know, it's taking time to bring some of these projects online to contribute to the bottom line, but you're gonna see some significant assessment growth in the next 18 to 24 months.
So if I could ask Tracy, could you bring on the June meeting, we'll go line by line. Could you bring a recommendation of what we should do for reserves? Because I think there's a general feeling around the table that there's a lot of reserves that we might never use. So maybe we should clean up the reserves. And I'm also wondering, this is just for me, but I mean, we have some stuff out there that, you know, we all compare ourselves to West Perth, East Perth and everything like that. And maybe we could compare to what our tax rate is to the others, so that, because I think we've always been the lowest taxes. But we, you know, we don't have an arena, but we share a facility, we do a lot of sharing. So I think I like it when I compare to apples and let's see where we really are at. So we've had a few years in the past that we, you know, Rebecca was doing 2 jobs, you know, that affected us. I think Ken had 3 jobs. Ken was doing 2 jobs there for a while. So we're back on track with our staff, council. We'll have a good discussion in June, and we have a motion on the floor to have a budget discussion in June. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah. So would you be able to just put on in the reserves, which ones we can't touch, like the Abington or the St. Paul's Water Reserve and the Black Tweed, where I'm understanding that we can't touch those. Yeah, could you just identify the ones that we can't touch, and we just, the ones that, so then we can focus in on the ones that we actually, we have a say in? Cause those ones look lower to me, you know.
Yeah,
that I
so
don't-
through the mayor, so those systems have to be self-funded, and even if they generate surplus, the funds need to stay there. So for example, we're talking about drilling a new well over here, that's where the funding is gonna come from. And so your worship, when I was mentioning evaluating the reserve funds, it was really about, you know, do we need all of these reserve funds, or do we just need 5? Could we collapse 5 into 1, 5, so I don't wanna mislead you and think that there's money in reserve funds that we're gonna encourage you to spend, that's not what the evaluation is about. I just wanna be clear about that, right? So, where you might find you could tap into that, subject to advice from the treasurer, would be, could you use some of those reserve funds to advance capital programs that might not then need funding from the levy? Investing in infrastructure, that would be a prudent use of some reserve funds, right? Where you're not raising more money, but you have some of your savings that you can use to invest in infrastructure rather than trying to raise more money. Those would be, prudent investments in my view. But, we're not gonna evaluate reserve funds and say, here's $4 million that we don't need. That's not what we're gonna say.
Deputy Mayor Wong.
Something I would like for that meeting also is that gravel's been an issue, continues to be an issue. The resources are getting less, they're getting more expensive. And yet, myself, I have not been able to find anywhere where there's, engineering saying that this is what you should do, when you should apply. So I would like to see us do a field test on a portion of road applying gravel and another section not applying, and have that evaluated over the next few years. Because, like I said, there's no justification for putting gravel on, there's no justification to not put it on, so I have a problem trying to make a decision on spending $400,000 because we've always done it that way. So I'd like to do a field test, and maybe we could be a leader and there's some evidence on tracking that.
I personally don't have a problem with that, but I would like to have that gravel road discussion in September, October. If possible. Because we have approved the gravel purchase for this year, because we saved money by doing it. Is that okay? Or do you want that for June?
Sooner is better. Maybe we can save the, excess gravel that we save, because it's not gonna be a lot. And Ken can use it, for emergency, because I know over the years he uses some gravel for emergencies.
So you want to have a wholesome discussion about gravel on the June meeting as well?
Yes, please. That's an expensive part of our budget.
I agree, but I do think we passed it for this year. Can we do it in the fall? Because I think, as Councillor Corby said, there's sometimes we lack oxygen by the end of the meeting when they go on too long. When we have a high overview and then go deep in the fall. No? You say, he says no.
I say, I don't think we would be prepared to fully discuss that, because we can't do field tests before June. Or can we, I just think that we're really loading up a meeting that already obviously had some stuff coming at it, I would guess. So, I would agree with Warren. Overlay would be good, going deep on gravel while we're going deep on capital and operating budgets, seems like a lot.
Councillor Marco?
Look, we could have a discussion on, just how we go about the next 10 years, maybe on gravel, and how, with some theories on what we should do, and, just discuss it like that. I don't know if that's, you wanna call that high level, you wanna call that low level, whatever. I think it's worth a discussion, as the mayor said, it is a big part of our budget, and has been not a bone of contention since I've been on council, but I'll talk about it a lot.
Through the mayor, I think in 23, we had Ken Lochtenberg come in from DM Ross to talk about gravel on roads, applications, specs on gravel, reasons to apply it in some ways rather than others. That we invited Ken because of a discussion like this that took place at council. And I'm sensing that either that wasn't satisfactory, or you're looking for something more, or or you just don't like it's of the gravel, and you wanna talk more about it, commiserate some. But generally speaking, you know, this is a topic of discussion in most rural municipalities, is gravel, why gravel, how about we skip some gravel, where do we put less gravel? You know, this is a discussion that happens routinely. You know, I'm sure I could bring you someone who you will say, do it this way, and someone will have a different opinion and say, well, I don't think that's quite right, let's do it a different way. So, you know, there is some benefit in consensus, you know. If what I'm hearing is correct, I think you wanna hear from someone other than us. You know, we're bringing you recommendations based on what we understand are industry standards. But there's a difference in opinion as to whether those are reliable. So if you want to hear from someone other than us, who is comprised of public works people who have been doing this most of their lives, then we should. Why don't you tell us who you want to hear from? And we'll see if we can get some expert resources for you.
Deputy Mayor Whitman?
I remember Ken bringing a report. Basically what I took from their report was that they drove over the gravel road and decided that it needed gravel. They had no justification. Who knows whether it had been graded in the last 6 weeks or whatever. They just drove over it and said, yeah, it needs gravel. They were the same people that drove across the bridge on line 2 over Fish Creek and did not mention to Ken that there was a surface area that needed repair of about 2 feet around. So I did not hold a lot of weight on the report.
Sure, and that's your prerogative. I guess what I'm saying is if you want some outside feedback on the methodology behind using gravel and maintenance and so on, you know, we're happy to help. But if you just want to have a discussion about gravel amongst yourselves, then that's easier for us, but it might not get you where you want to go. I don't know, like, but I need some feedback on how I can help you, help me help you, as they say, and you know, the movies.
Councilor Corbin, did you?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to look at it, but we should talk about it. I agree. The gravel does bother me too. I know it's an asset, but instead of 27,000 tons a year, maybe we can look at a lesser amount and still put it on. I don't know. There's lots of things to discuss. It's a big number. That's what I don't like. And it's not gonna go down.
I would agree in that. I guess this is why I would be leaning towards having a September, October meeting. I mean, I would even love to have a full day budget meeting in the fall for the next budget for 2026, like one full day. And in that day, maybe that's where we bring in the morning some outside opinion on what to do with the gravel situation. Because like it's been stated, our staff has been taking recommendations from industry standards. So I don't know how to fix it besides giving up some roads or closing something. Maybe we have to do that. Councilor Gordon?
Maybe in the future, Ken, if you can get, we talked yesterday a bit about maintenance gravel versus A gravel. You can give us some information on that, maybe the cost difference. Be interesting. I mean, it's just an education for council.
Okay, we're still on a motion on the floor that we're going to have a wholesome discussion on our budget line by line in the first meeting in June. And Tracy will have some updated numbers by then. Maybe it will hopefully feel better, maybe it won't. It seems to me like we're fixing some things from the past and she's just being very honest with where we're at. So that motion is on the floor, moved by Councillor Vanessa, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm. No, by Marco. All those in favor? Carried. So we will not be doing any of the other budget discussions. Sure. Okay, it is 10 after 11. We don't have too much more to go, but a few that could take a bit of time. Do you really wish to have a 5-minute bathroom break? So we're gonna pause for 5 minutes. Did you gentlemen like to coffee or anything? My notes. Okay. Back on track.
Oh, yeah.
I think Tracy has done her presentation, but she'll probably just come on later when she can. Okay, we are at correspondence. Page 234. Sorry, I'm gonna pull it up on my. Okay, so there's a request from, this one is from South Perth School. Generally receive a request once a year for the family fundraiser. In the past, we have generally donated $100 through either gift card from some local vendors. That's what's happened in the past, but, what would council like to do? Deputy Mayor Williams?
I'd like to continue with what we did last year.
Councilor Bergman? Okay, so a motion on the floor that we continue to support the school by giving them a $100 purchase from somewhere in Perth South, and for their family fun night. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by Councilor Corby. All those in favor? Carried. Who would be taking care of that? Probably. You need my help, you just let me know. All right, we have, so Perth East, I noticed, had given them a significant amount of money, like $70,000. So I did say if he had a small improvement that he should, do the request. Welcome to talk about it right now. Welcome to send it to the budget discussion in June. Maybe this is something, because it could qualify under the wellness fund to, improve the bleachers there. How would council like to go?
You can leave money to when you're, what's that called, it's we started it about 5 years ago.
Are you talking about the foundation?
Yeah, we have a foundation for recreation, don't we, or like in St. Paul there. We started something.
No, I think the wellness fund was designated towards anything that improves wellness through all of the law person.
So we have a budget line item, but are you speaking with the Stratford and the
What?
Community Foundation where they have different streams?
Yeah, I thought we started something once where you could leave money to a foundation for the betterment of sports and recreation or something. And I thought there was some money had went in there.
So I don't know, I can't remember the specifics, but that is a board who oversees those funds, and we do have a stream for Perth South specifically, but community groups would apply through the board.
Oh, I see.
But not through us, for that funding.
Councilor Markbell?
So I'm assuming that this is just one bleachers is a little over 6,000. So the ask would be 19,000, or there's real no specifics, so.
I think the ask is 6,2,500, not that we have to give it all, it's an ask for the voters.
That's the ask, or that's just one bleacher, they're asking for 3. So that's the confusion.
Oh,
On the quote, it says only 1, and then it gives the price. Am I reading that wrong, or?
Councilor Carter?
Or, yeah, if we should clarify this and add it to our budget discussion.
Councilor Jeffel?
I agree with Councilor Martin. One of the things I was also wondering, have they taken into consideration the site preparation called out on the drawing? Like they're talking about soil investigations. You know, I think it's a bit more than just slapping some bleachers down. So I just want to make sure that all these things have been looked at prior to this. They've got specific soil densities called out on the drawing as well, so it's easier to read up there than it is on the screen, so. I just want to make sure that the City Athletic Association has, you know, everything lined up for this, that's all.
Sure, so if I'm hearing it right, we're gonna clarify that you can, the soil, if there's no extra cost, we're gonna clarify one or three. And we wanna send it to the budget discussion in June.
I believe we send them $3,500 every year as a grant, that this would be on top of that.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so. Councilor Cody?
It looks like they're just asking for a contribution. Do we need to get into all the other stuff? They just want a contribution, and is it, whether it's, I don't know, it just seems like we can bring some information back, but all they're looking is a little bit of funding to help them.
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's not a huge ask, but it is a bit of an ask, but again, I'm leaning on the wellness fund that this would be qualifying under that. For part of it, for all of it, so. We comfortable with leaving this for some clarification and bringing it to the June discussion? You need a motion for that, or? Yeah. Okay.
I'll make the motion that we get clarification, bring it back.
Okay, so motion on the floor to have some clarification from the Cedar Falls Athletic Association regarding the bleachers, if it's one or three, that this is a total amount. And we're moving it to the June meeting. Moved by Councilor Jennifer, seconded by Councilor Martel. All those in favor? Carried. All right, we are at item 9.3, Prospect Hill Cemetery financials and the grant request. Generally, we do give a grant as well. Do you know the amount? Yeah, it's 840, I believe. 840, like we've done before. And it's in the budget currently. Council comfortable to move this 840 as before, or do you want to delay it to June? Councilor Carter?
I think we might as well look after right now.
Okay.
Question, what is it called a grant? We grant them the money, is that how it works? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right, so motion on the floor that we approve the grant for $840 to be sent to Prospect Hill Cemetery. Moved by Councilor Corview, seconded by Councilor Martin, all in favor, carried. Okay, we are at 9.4, get concerned for the county correspondence. Would we like to start the discussion? There are 3 things that are included there. Dr. Martin.
So I read the report. It's interesting. My big question is when are we having this public meeting? We've been told it's spring. They've obviously brought forward some concerns. It's not for us to answer these questions, right? These need to come from the engineers and the builders and such. So can we get a date or Fred, if you could give us an update on that.
This week, I was circulated on an email that referenced June 17th. They're just firming up the availability of the facilities in Seagreenville. Once they've firmed that up and booked it, then I think you'll see it advertised.
And will they speak to the concerns of this group at that meeting?
So, these pieces of correspondence are actually addressed to the individuals who are involved in the Class EA, so that would be my expectation, is that Mike Jones and Jeff Bannon would take these pieces of feedback into consideration as part of the Class EA. And these reports are in response to reports that were released as part of the Class EA. So they are, in my view, appropriately addressed to the individuals who are leading those components of those pieces of work. So my expectation is that they would be considered and addressed.
Councilor Marco?
Will BM Ross look over this stuff on our behalf, since they're our own maintainer?
Through the mayor, the short answer is yes. But I spoke to the mayor earlier about an issue that I want to be clear about. So BM Ross is retained to provide us with advice on the work that Azimuth is doing on behalf of its client, Advancing Subdivision. That's not this. So we have not retained BM Ross to provide us a review of community feedback. Right? That's not what the agreement says. So I just laying that out there, you know, that's why BM Ross is retained, to provide the township with review, expertise, feedback on the work of the applicant. And that's not what this is. So I'm saying that because if we want BM Ross to engage in this kind of stuff, we'll get a bill. Just to be clear.
Councillor Carden?
I think the place for this is at the opening meeting and the experts will be there and there could be discussion.
Yeah, so through the mayor, you know, the open house is intended to receive more feedback from the community so that people are reacting. You know, do I expect at the open house, someone's gonna stand up and say, I'm gonna go through this line by line and give you my feedback? I don't think so, but I think in the final report, or at least in an interim report, you will see these items addressed. That's the purpose of this whole public engagement piece, is to get feedback from the community and then deal with it in the next steps. Then I expect that's why these documents are being addressed to, you know, the county planner who's handling the planning piece, and to the engineer, and, you know, the subject is the municipal class EA. So that's what the expectation, I'm assuming from Arcadis is that these will be addressed as part of the municipal class EA. Just as a reminder, the planning piece related to this application is still at the county. Right, the county has already had this come to them once and they've deferred it, subject to more work being done on the class EA. So the planning piece is a live county planning file. Still at the county, they haven't made a decision on it. And Jeff Bannon is the planner that's leading.
Councillor Mark Bell?
Will BM Ross be at the public meetings? Or
Probably.
I would expect they would be there to answer questions from the public, or how was their?
Through the mayor, their role is not to answer questions from the public, their role is to provide this council with feedback on the process.
Councillor Martin?
On 17th is an evening council meeting. So can we-
You're right, thank you for reminding me, that was the feedback that I gave them on
Oh,
that
okay.
date, and I suggested that it be moved to the 16th on the evening.
That would be great, because we'd like to. attend.
Yeah, I did share that.
Thanks.
All right, any other further questions? If not, I believe we should recommend that
I would recommend your worship that you note and file these materials, because they've already been sent to the recipients.
Deputy Mayor Will.
I'd make a motion that we receive this for information.
All right, moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by anyone? Councillor Martin, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Are you up there, Councillor Martin?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. All right, that is moved.
I have the old house in my phone.
It is a long and painful process for this planning, but we're getting there step by step. It is a process that we're following as laid out by them. All right, we are at council reports. Who would like to go first? Councillor Vanessa? Okay. Councillor Duffel?
Spent a good portion of Saturday at the Kirkton Hall for, we had our Optimist, district, meeting there. Had a good discussion with Kirkton Woodham Optimists. First of all, their wings are fantastic. We had a very good conversation about the sign with them. They're the feedback I get from the membership, certainly from the Optimist Club, is they're happy that Perth South is involved with them. That's the feedback that I got from them. Of note, their bike rodeo is this Saturday. I don't think, and maybe I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but they weren't able to get Stratford to come out, so they were hoping to get someone from OPP to come out for that. See. And our Downey Optimists have the upcoming wing beat on May 22nd.
Thank you. So the St. Paul's Grunt is up and running, things are going great, those volunteers are fantastic, they've gone through all the stuff. I think the first game was on Sunday with the seniors. They are getting that big net up, is it up that, the one to save the balls from the ditch?
There's something there, I don't know if it's completed.
They're working on it, right, that'll save us a lot of money in game balls, and yeah, everything's going along swimmingly. Great. Counselor Carvey?
All's good. I got a mobility bus meeting tomorrow and fire board meeting Thursday. Other than that, everything's good.
Counselor Bell?
Go ahead.
Deputy.
Quiet too.
Okay. I would say it's quiet. We had a record short county meeting, last Thursday. We did have a pool committee meeting, and we're also going to have a second pool committee registration night on this Wednesday. We're going to try to get everybody going online, so we'll do that together on Wednesday night, and then it'll be live, I think, Wednesday night later, but we're gonna try to help people through the process. I did have a full report, but I think I've already handed it into, was that the next council meeting? So, and I will be away, so Deputy Mayor Wilhelm will be, chairing the next meeting for me, so. All right, go ahead.
Good, so on that note, if you would submit your April expenses to me by the end of this week, that would be great. And I didn't have any reports on the agenda, but I thought I would let you know that as of yesterday and this morning, we have received 2 official appeals to the, I almost called it what you call it, this Circular drain. So today was the last date of appeal for the tribunal, so we do have, I have to work on that this week, getting them to the tribunal, so. So you know, that project's gonna just be the gift that keeps on giving.
All right, no bylaws, any other announcements? Notices of motion? Under business? Public question period? Would anybody from the public like to ask any questions? Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
So this, public meeting, hopefully we got a center there type thing, so, we'll, engineering or the planners that are working this all together, they'll be at the meeting to ask, answer questions.
Yes, that's my expectation is that the applicant will have Azimuth Engineering and Baker Planning there to answer questions on both of those items.
Okay, and then so, and I think where this whole thing melts down, okay, is, and I wanna say this right, so I don't offend anybody.
No problem.
Is, some of the figures they're coming out with are way off from what our engineers are on the same type. And I know the developer's reputation is they get what they want. Okay, and the 3 of them are very good at doing that, okay? And I'm pretty sure most of us feel that whether it's Bannon or whoever's, everybody's taking their word from the people they hired. When in fact, the people we hired, the facts aren't meshing. And I would hope first for the village, but I don't think council would even wanna. I know council wants to do the right thing, I know that. And I know we gotta get housing. And we all worry about the wells and the water and, you know, the sewage and all that sort of stuff type thing and stuff like that. And we know, like I've been there all my life, 70 years, okay, across from that field. I know it's gonna be developed one day, okay? The village is really, really concerned on doubling it, you know, well, not doubling it, but 160% increase in its population. With all this going in, because it is, like, I know Cedarville wouldn't have any problems with what you are doing across the street there. In that field, and there's planners that will argue about septic systems and wells, and there's planners that are for them and for against them and stuff like that. And, you know, you guys do a remarkable job here. When I hear what your taxes and stuff is, you guys do a marvelous job, okay? You know, compared to some other of your peers, okay? And stuff. And I know this only because I've been there all my life. Okay, I know they worry about Black Creek goes dry in the summer. So to get rid of sewage and that through there. And I had the same conversation 15 years ago with the Ministry of Environment. I took them down to the river and we showed them the dead cart with no water. And he said, well, your dams and all these dams are stagnant water. And I said, but you know what? Some water is better than no water for fish. And until a farmer polluted our stream several miles upstream, we had pike in there like that. We had black bass in there like that. And that's all. And that's why I'm saying is when they rely and say they're going to do this, the only way they can do it is to take it down to a dust. And that would be very, very expensive. So all I'm saying is we'd like to find the middle ground with you people. We really would. And I just hope, you know, because I can look at the reports from their engineers and they know, I know as much about that as they know about getting cows to Mexico. Okay, we all have our expertise, but when you look at this group here, you know, Bob, you've been in trucking all your life, right?
Yeah.
You know, hasn't been an easy road, you know, we got some farmers over there, right? And you guys are all part of this, you know, type thing, and I just want the right thing done. And I know you guys need more revenue, I know that. But you can get that from 60, 70 houses in that field.
Well, let's wait for all the reports to come back.
Yep.
And we will do the right thing.
And thank you very much for letting me speak.
No,
Okay?
thank you. No. Either of you like to make any comments?
Yeah, concerns there.
Yeah, it's Chris Dawson, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Chris Dawson, sorry, that's even below.
Yeah.
Just like to echo Doug's concerns, the village isn't ready for this explosive growth that would come out of this, that is currently proposed. Again, we're not against development at all, just the right size and the right amount at the right time.
Appreciate your comment. Anything? I'm sure my brother's not gonna say anything.
I think that was a warning.
All right, so I have confirmatory bylaw, the recommendation that the bylaw 21-2025 be a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters to deal with by resolution of the Township of South. Given first, second, and third readings and be properly signed and sealed. Moved by Councillor Corview, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for a good meeting. We are, recommendation that the meeting does adjourned by 11:44. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Jeff Bell. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody.